Today, André Santos joins me. How are you doing, André?
I'm pretty good, Jamie. Thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here. How are you?
I'm doing really, really well, thank you. So today, it's a really interesting career that you've had. It's spanned in loads of different countries, in England, in China, in Australia, and so many more. But just tell us then, who are you and where did you start in your days playing football?
So my name is Andre. I'm actually, it's quite funny. I started when I was young, like in martial arts. That was basically my thing, and I really wanted to pursue that career. And when I had to finally find a job, I tried to teach classes as well, which I did, but I needed to earn some extra money, and there was this spot in a local football team, and I applied. They liked me, and I stayed. Started with the under six, I think. I was 20 years old by then, and then I realized that it was way more enjoyable to teach in a team sport than an individual sport, and that's how it started. Obviously, I was always a football fan, not a very good football player, so it was basically like that, and I always loved teaching since I was very young. I always was into teaching and helping, and that's basically how it started.
So your career, we're going to talk about it, kind of accelerated quite quickly when you were about 20 years old. So
Yes.
Did you play football when you were younger? Was that at grassroots level or a local team?
I did. There was like this very local club called Fontainhas close to Cascais, and I did play there for a year when I would say under 10, around that, and it was kind of enjoyable. Like we're still talking about, like, there was no turf courts. There was basically not even grass. It's not even grass. So it was like that. I was doing karate at the same time. My experiences, because it was not a very good neighborhood there, so my experience was not the best. Let's put it this way. So after a year, I decided not to play in a club, and pursue my love back then, which was karate. And I kept playing, obviously, with friends at school, doing non-formal games. Let's put it this way. But it was basically like that. And like I said in the beginning, I was also not very good, so let's say we didn't lose much.
So moving on then so if we were talking to you today, obviously we are, and you look at yourself back then, would you say you got into coaching because you weren't a very good player and you thought that you could maybe take a player that was similar to your ability and turn them into someone who was quite decent?
That's actually a good question. Actually, I always like to teach, and since young, I was like 12 when I started helping our karate teachers. Let's put it this way, and always loved to teach. Always learn by my experiences, and I always loved to have this even if there was kids with not too much ability, always like to teach them and see them grow. And by the time I was growing and developing those coaching and teaching skills, was way more enjoyable. And the way I got into football was basically a personal need. I needed an extra job, and when I started coaching, I started with the under six. I got a lot of my experiences because I didn't have any course back then, or even I didn't even finish college back then. So it was basically my experience, and that part of not being a football player, or not even a good one, was also more of a motivation for me to tell him, okay, maybe you cannot go this way, or maybe you're not gonna go straight away into this level, but if you go through here, you're gonna have some success. Even when in the under six, maybe they want. Back then it was when it started was 2010, I think, and back then we already had so many things to see, so many players to see, and they wanted to be those players. And but obviously because of their ability, some of them, of course, they couldn't do it and they got frustrated, and it was much easier to go through those steps and think about my personal experience was quite helpful for sure.
To work with under sixes and under sevens, under tens, these are the ages that you're kind of working with along this journey. And we're going to go and talk about those in depth. But why would you, I mean, would you preferably coach an under six than an adult? I mean, would you rather mold that player into the player that you'd like them to be?
At this point, and especially after having my first experience with the senior team, I still prefer the adults at the moment. I've been through all my stages, and I don't think I missed a single foundation and youth age. I think, except obviously under 21 or under 23. Everything below that, I coach different countries, different environments as well, and it was fun. The journey was fun and had a lot of how to say, rewarding moments. But at this moment, I'm very, very happy, and it taught me a lot. But at this moment, I'm not saying that I've learned it all, because that's impossible, because there's so much more to learn. But at this point, I feel I need a challenge to coach and teach adults, because the challenges over there are way, 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 way bigger. Not better or worse, not like that. It's just bigger, because it doesn't involve just the development of a player. It involves way much more. And we're starting to see that in under 19, under 17s, even under 15s, with some other issues besides football. But at this point, I think if I can choose, I'm always going to remember, because that taught me a lot. Like I said, the development phase of a player, of a young player. But at this moment, I prefer to coach adults.
You've been a coach in West Bromwich Albion. We're going to go talk about that later on. When I get told about the development squads, under six, under fives, when the children start, this is like the first few years that they can properly start to play football. Obviously, scouts aren't too interested in that sort of level, because they focus more on the under 15s, under 16s, when they're developing into better players. When you were coaching in Benfica, was that the case where the scouts kind of just got a wide variety of players into your team, and then it was up to you to kind of make them the best player that they were? But obviously, they weren't taking anything too seriously at this stage.
Well, at the Benfica, at that time, I don't know how it is right now, because I don't have any contact with them for a long time. But at that point, because they had like several schools spread around the country, from time to time, or either on some trainings or some encounters, or some early tournaments. It's not called tournaments, it's festivals. They would come and ask about the age and everything. They go for a specific age group, where the year they were born. And back then, I think it changed a little bit now, but back then all they cared, it was two things: their height and the height of their parents. I remember one situation where we were in this festival. I was with the under sevens, I think, and we had this kid who was tall, quite tall for the age. He was not bad. And they came to ask for him what he was born, where are their parents and everything. And I said, okay, but I told them everything. But if you are looking for a good player, then you have this. I pointed out another player, which was much shorter, but was much better, especially for that age. And he said, yeah, but the other one is tall. So basically, it was like, I think it changed a little bit. I think it changed. I cannot confirm, and I hope it did. So basically, it was the scouting approach back then was like that. I think, like I said, I think it changed, and I hope it did. But back then it was like that. You could suggest a player, but if he was not tall or anything, especially at under 6 and 7 and 8, they wouldn't care.
That's really interesting. I've never heard that before. So that's a really great insight. But
Yeah.
why would the height be such a big deal? Because for a striker, I think kind of on an average, the taller that they are, the slower they are. So if you wanted to be a winger or a striker, why would they be looking for the taller ones?
Basically, their mentality was like that. As long as, because if they were physically strong, like in a how to say, already, if they were like already like that, or if maybe they could grow or get stronger because their parents are tall and strong, in their mind was, okay, we already have the physical part, which, okay, we cannot control that much, but we are good enough to teach him the technical and tactical part. So basically, what's their mind? We need physical guys that are tall, strong, and their physical ability is above the average, but and then the rest we do. That's I don't believe in it, but it's quality back then. I don't think, but it's just me.
You were at Benfica for 5 years. So you said that you missed out on college to be able to go and coach in Benfica, maybe due to some reasons. But 5 years at a football club, when you're first introduced into that, is quite something. And you were the head coach of the under-6s, assistant coach of the under-10s, and the goalkeeper coach of the under-9s to 16. So you were coaching in a wide variety of age categories. What one was your favourite out of those three?
So basically, to explain with this, like I really needed to work basically, and I was always someone that could help, and I was always available for anything like an activity or anything. I will always be saying yes, I'm available, this and this. Plus, the more classes you have, the more money you would get. So that was quite an incentive. Let's say the one that I liked the most was because there's two here. There's two different sides. Like one we call formation, like foundation, where the kids basically train, and every month they have like 2 times like an activity where they play with the other academies, other schools, and then you have the competition teams. So when they moved me to the competition teams, always as an assistant coach, when I was in that Benfica school, I was always assistant coach for the competition teams. That was the fun part. And the first year I was already with the under 12s, I think, and that was quite enjoyable. Between all the 5 years, I would say the first year was very enjoyable with an assistant coach with the under 12s, and then there was another year, I think my third or fourth year, I was also assistant coach for the under 13s, already playing 11 aside. That was also quite fun. So to answer your question more clearly, the part that I liked the most was definitely be assistant coach of the under 12s and the 13s back then.
You mentioned 11 aside. That is a big jump. For what age do they become from, 9 aside to 11 aside? What age does that switch over?
So here in Portugal, I think last time I checked, so they, until under 11s, they play 7 asides. When they turn under 12, under 13, 9 asides. And starting from under 14, they start the 11 aside. I think it's like this. I think so. I may be wrong. I might be wrong. Yes,
but I mean, that would be probably correct, right? So we could say that would be correct. That how, as a coach, in that transition year, you've got to find more players. You've got to find a way to keep the players, more stamina, to make sure that they don't run out of energy and run out of and start getting fatigue and all this, because this is new to them as they're growing up. Their bones start to grow. Everything starts to become more like an adult. So how do you transition them from the under 9s to the 9 aside to the 11 aside?
First of all, back then we didn't have 9 aside. So from under 12 to under 13, you would jump from 7 aside to 11 aside. And so it's the question is really well made, and it's quite difficult. The players, yes, you'll have to have more. You already bring a certain base from the 7-a-side or the 9-a-side, depending on where you are. But there's kids who were probably very good at the 7-a-side, and they struggle to adapt. And there's others who maybe were struggling 7-a-side and now they have more space. It's a matter of adapt. First thing, in my opinion, is to try to give them as much as possible the awareness of the space, because it's very, very common, once you, even from 9-a-side to 11-a-side, if when you move them in, probably on the first game, on the second game, you will see they are extremely compact, not wide, like very close to each other, because they are used to those distances. And then it's a matter of patience. It's a matter of try to explain and try to give them exercises that will stimulate and motivate them to understand. Yes, okay, you can go a little bit wider. You have more space. Your pass now needs to be a little bit stronger. There's more space for you to explore. Also, there's more space. It has more space for you to defend as well. So it's a process. It's a process. It has to be very patient. You cannot just go like on the first week or second week. Even after 1 month, there's going to be struggles because players learn quickly. Some players learn a little bit slower. It is what it is. So it's a matter of patience and having a structured progress, not straight away, not like just I wouldn't do like put him straight away into 11-side pitch and okay, now you figure it out. Maybe it works. Maybe for some context it works. But if you're not at the highest level, I would do some progression and give them, depending where you want to start. Maybe some coaches would like to start from the front. Some coaches would like to start from the back, defense or attack, depending on the methodology. But I would like give him space awareness, exercises of space awareness, most important of all. Because the rest, the technique, the tactical, everything will come afterwards.
You mentioned the tactics, and understandably, these children are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 or 12 at this age, playing 11-a-side for the first time. When does the tactics really start to become implemented? For some teams, they play inverted wing backs. They play all sorts of different things and different tactics that are different with some coaches. When do you implement that into your game?
So my opinion is up to under 10s, under 11s, especially in the 10s, let him play. Let him play. Give them some basic notions of where to be, but not too much tactical. Don't start with like hard naming and everything. Just structure. I would say, especially now with the 9-a-side, maybe on the first year of 9-a-side, you start to give him more of the tactical aspect. But my opinion is, if you start too early, first of all, you're gonna take out the creativity, because they're only gonna be, they just can do that, and that, and their brain doesn't exercise, and they need a little bit more of that. Also, if you start like that too early, by the time they are 14, 15, they're already tired of listening to those kind of things, to those kind of names, to be stuck, and then probably, even if they don't give up, some of them will do, but even if they don't give up, they will get tired, not enjoy the game. So I would say start giving slowly, like is a progression, like slowly, maybe under 11s and 12s, but not in a very hard way. So then when they got to 9-a-side, they already know how to position, how to compensate, how to get wide, how to get close and everything. And by the time they go to the 11-a-side, even under 13 or under 14, where they should basically just have fun, which I know in some clubs, and they will require results, and we cannot run away from that. But I would say around late under 11s, early 12s, 13s, but not in a very complex way.
So when it starts to become complex, you as a manager have to decide what is eventually the best team to win. You put out the best squad that you possibly can in the best formation with the best tactics that you possibly can find of yourself. What would that be? How would your ideal team play?
Well, that's a tricky one because obviously each coach has their own way to play, and every coach, no matter what they say, they want to win. And especially now that coaches have become are more, you can show up more, not just the players. Like coaches are like in a outside and in the media and everything, and you want to stand out because of competition. No matter, doesn't matter the country. The competition of reaching a high level as a coach is tremendous. So many coaches, obviously, okay, I'm going, instead of worrying about the kids, more going about, okay, how do I play? And people will only look at me if I win, of course. And I believe in the long term, you will get more wins if your players, and this no matter the age, adults under 6, doesn't matter, if your players are happy. Okay, obviously, we cannot just throw them into the pitch and say, now win and play. Especially when we're talking about under 13s, under 14s and above. Because also it will always depend on which club are you. If you are in a smaller club, obviously they still want to win, but they will be more flexible and they will not require results. But if you are at a Premier League club or a Championship club, even at a low level, they will also require some wins. Maybe not to be champion, but some wins. And also some clubs have their own style of play. They have their curriculum, which as a coach, as a club employee, you have to follow. For me, I like to, especially in these young ages, I basically I worry more about the psychological part. And when I say psychological, I'm not just talking about confidence or that kind of stuff. I'm also thinking about working as a team, offensively and defensively, and try to have the family aspect as much as possible. When I say family, I say we work as a family. As, for example, if I lose the ball, I'm going to have someone covering myself. But just because of that, I'm not just going to, okay, he covers me. Not in that way. He covers me now, I'll cover him next time. If we need to help each other, a teammate is tired or anything, I'm going to help him out. Those are like basic stuff that I like to have that in their mind in the beginning. Now, when we move to the tactical and technical aspect, I prefer my team to have the ball, be confident with the ball, not overdoing like in terms of possession, but I always prefer them to have the ball, confident with the ball, know what to do with the ball, not just passing around. But I'm a little bit obsessed with the creation and and finding the space, either with a pass, with a movement, whether in a 1v1, whatever. If you have the space, go for it. Because I believe that when you find a space and break into the spaces, that's what's gonna, let's say, dismantle the opponent. And I try always to have that. But while we have the ball, defensively, like I said, very quick. I like a very quick reaction to the loss of the ball. I try to win it as quick as possible. And once again, everybody runs back. Doesn't matter if you are the striker, the winger, the top goal scorer. Everyone runs back and helps out to recover the ball as quick as possible.
That is, I think, what a lot of Premier League teams are missing. I think we can talk about levels, we can talk about abilities, but let's base it off men's football or women's football, the top levels of those leagues. What really sticks out to me is when you said about the strikers and the wingers coming back, and everyone has that goal and objective to win back the ball, because that also builds a team spirit, doesn't it? It builds an idea that you're a team and you're going to win this as a team, but also you lose it as a team where you're all responsible for concessions of goals, etc. But you also mentioned that clubs set out objectives. We want to win 10 games a season. We want to, I don't know, achieve European football, all sorts of things like this, whether it be financial or tactical or results. Do you like that as a manager? Do you like being put under that pressure to be able to succeed?
Yes, I do. The only thing is, like, sometimes is like you need to, especially if you have someone above you, like they can ask you to win and everything, but as long as they are reasonable, let's put it this way. When I say reasonable, I'm not saying that if they ask me a little bit more than I'm doing, fine, no problem at all. But everybody needs to be reasonable, even the coaches as well. But I like that, because that's what pushes us. That it gives you an objective, and when you are coaching, gives you, how to say it, like a motivation, like to keep working. Okay, this is the objective. This is the level that they are asking me. I'm going to test myself. Can I reach that level? I'm going to test my players. Can you reach that level? I'm going to, if I'm the head coach, test my stuff. If I'm an assistant coach, an analyst, doesn't matter. I'm also going to test myself. Am I up to this level? Can I help the head coach and the players and the club to reach this level? So for sure. And I've been in contexts where very quickly the ambition drops for some reason, and just like this, it affects everything. As soon as you feel the club is okay where they are, it affects the whole environment. The training intensity drops. So I definitely prefer to coach in an environment where it's constant asking for more. Even, okay, sometimes even when it's not even realistic, but at least they are asking for more. I definitely prefer. I've been in both, and it's definitely better when the people above ask even the supporters ask you for more, for sure. It's way much better to work.
If I was a manager, what would really, really annoy me is my players, well, it could be 1, could be 2, it could be 10, having bad mentalities. And you mentioned the intensity of training, for example, dropping. If I was a player, I don't understand why players want to drop that intensity. Why would they not want to be the best version of themselves? Why do they take that step down if the objective of the club is weakened?
It can be for so many reasons. First of all, let's say if they know they have some quality, or if they know if the coach is gonna play them no matter what, sometimes for them is enough. In their mind, is that I'm already good enough. I'm already gonna play. Like, they only see short term. They don't see long term. Sorry, and maybe they think that way. I think that for some players is like this. I'm already good enough, or I'm already the best of the team, so I don't need anything else. And maybe if they start with this mentality, maybe you don't notice in the next game, but in 2-3 games, definitely will notice for sure. And it's really hard to come back from that, because that mentality. Other reasons, like especially if you are supporting, you see a player that he doesn't care, or a bad mentality, can be a player trying to force to be out. It can have just a bad day, which that, in my opinion, is totally acceptable. It can be, but if answer to your question, if it's not wanted to train or something like this, because most of the time is because they think they are already good enough, and no matter what, I will play. If I don't play here, I play somewhere else. My agent will find me this or this place, or I'm already the best, so I can beat all of you, or the coach needs me, so I'm safe. Many times can be like that. Can be the player naturally thinking like this, or other times it can be the people around him telling him like, you are the best, you don't need that guy, or don't need the coach, or sometimes like they know they need to train, but they are afraid of an injury, and in their minds they think, I'm just gonna like do 50, 60, 70% so I don't injure myself, which is wrong, because if you train naturally like this and there's a moment in the game or in a training where you have to give 80, 90, 100%, your body's not so used to it and the risk of injury is bigger. So it can be like that. But most of the times it's because they think they already know it all and they don't need more. Unfortunately, there's too many cases.
I mean, obviously, you don't like those kind of players, as you've sort of mentioned there. How do you deal with those players? Those players who are really, it's like talking to a brick wall when you talk to them, and whatever you try and get out of them, it just doesn't work. So what sort of thing would you give to that player to be able to break them out of that ice?
It always goes from individual to individual, from case to case. I can give you a very close case on the team that I was in UAE this season. In January, we were able to get on loan a Venezuelan kid. He doesn't speak English, so I was his support most of the time. I was translating, helping him out, sorting his life out. Basically, I was like his older brother, almost as a dad for him there. And when he came, first I could see first week he was standing out from the other players. He was definitely other quality, good left foot, really well done, very, very, very good player. He could definitely help us. For some reason, after 2-3 weeks, his level dropped like quickly. And because I was constantly talking with him, there was some issues, some personal issue going on, like with the club, but nothing much, nothing major. And because he didn't see that solve, he comes to me, hey, Andre, come on. Hey, I'm the best player here. Why these guys don't do this? I was like, who told you are the best player here? So it all depends from the personality, because at the end of the day, you want to get the best out of the player. And it's a matter of trying to know him, how he will respond to what kind of words. If you are a little bit more aggressive, maybe he'll respond well. If you are more aggressive, maybe he will shut down. So it's a matter of balancing. Also, not just let's just do you're good, because that will not help not only him, also with his teammates. Because when we're treating a player individually, we also have to see how the others one will react, because it's like a chain. If you act with some player, the other ones will understand. The other players every football player is very smart, and they pick up all those things. So it's a matter of balance to try to do that. Try to understand which is the best way to motivate him and to respond to that, which was not easy, because for a long time he thought, I'm the best, I don't need anything else, and he come to a place where he was not performing, he was not helping the team, and it became not very good, because also his attitude in the trainings, it was like, I'm the best, and the teammates didn't like that. So try to stop this snowball effect so it doesn't explode. But it's not easy. It's not easy. If you can reach out to the player and maybe he will change, okay, you know the path to do. But it has to be like a 50-50 situation. Okay, maybe he doesn't realize what he's doing, so okay, let's try to fix the situation and give them some, like, listen, this is happening, you have to improve on this, maybe you have to improve on that. Try not to kill his confidence, but at the same time not overdo it, and try to balance that in that way. But it gets to a time, the other 50% has also to come from the player. And if he doesn't want to listen, if he doesn't want to improve or something like that, then the consequences will always come up to the club, the coach, the teammates. That's up to them. And it's very unfortunate because, and I know in England there's loads and loads of quality football players, but they think they reach the top and they don't explode.
I've got so many questions to ask, and I'm sure everyone's going to be wanting to hear them. So make sure you continue to listen in. One of the questions, one of the things you've said there is the Venezuelan kid that you signed. Obviously, maybe he's come from South America, maybe he's been playing in Europe or Africa or wherever for the last few seasons. How do you sign somebody on loan? I mean, I've spoken about transfers before. It's a bit confusing, but agents kind of make the contacts. But with a loan, the motivation behind it is you're going to go to that club and you're going to try and work as hard as you can to come back to your parent club and hopefully get a better role in the team. Is that how loans kind of pan out? And also, obviously, what happens behind the scenes with these deals?
So I don't know how it is in England, but I think could be some more clauses or some more deals or anything. In this case, in this specific case, the club that I was working for is in a second division club, like a championship club, and he came from a pro division, so the first division, from Hatta. It was a club, and they were not happy with him. And the coach that went to, so we had a coach for the first 5 fixtures, then he got fired. They brought up the coach that was previously in this Hatta club, and because he knew him, he tried to get him on loan. The idea was, the first idea was, okay, you come here for the second part of the season. If you get better, you go back to your main club and then work it out. In the meantime, I thought, and from my understanding, from talking with this player, he basically didn't want to stay in the first club. He wanted to stay because the environment for him, he felt, was much better. So he wanted to stay in this club. So he was trying hard to do this. At this moment, I have no idea. He has contract with the previous club, so I don't know how the negotiations are. If he's going to be on loan again, if he's not going to come back, how's it going to be? So the reasons for the loan can change during the loan period, depending on that. In terms of behind the scenes, was actually quite easy. Like I said, the club was not happy with him. His main club was not happy with him. There was an opportunity to have him on loan. In terms of salaries and paid, like it's club with club decision. I think our club paid, I don't even know if it was 50% or something like this, 50%. The other club kept paying the other 50%. And so basically it was like this. The first idea was maybe keep him playing, keep him in the country, and maybe he will adapt more, and next season he will be better, and we'll see. So at this moment, I have no idea what was the conclusion of it.
You mentioned earlier about you like the pressurization as a manager and you like the communication, but not too much. And then you mentioned about fans and boards and everyone in between. What would you say, so for example, Gareth Southgate for England, obviously they're going to the Euros this summer. There's been a lot of talk about him maybe underperforming at this tournament. There's a lot of speculation that he'll leave after that as well. As a coach who's coached in so many countries and having this pressure from fans, from parents at the younger levels as well, what is your idea behind what they say? Do you like to listen to what they say, or do you just completely block it out?
I learned how to block it out, especially when you play away. You hear the worst things. So if you don't black it out, it's hard. For me, what bothers me the most, and I never got affected by that because I've never been in that level, like Gareth Southgate level, of course. And what bothers me the most is two things. Like, I understand that media, and especially media, let's put it, media needs to sell. It's how they pay their bills and how they earn their money. I know, and sometimes they have to put up some. I don't want to say lies, but different versions of stories or this and this. I know that. What bothers me the most is when people just read the news and whatever it's there, they believe it and don't even question it. I know, like as the regular football fan, I want to watch my team. I want watch my team to win, and that's it. Okay, if they don't win, I will. That's part of it. I don't want to lose that. But at least some news, let's try to see if okay, is this just some news? Is this the reality or not? Because there's so many things, and I'm pretty sure you know about this. There's so many things that I'm not saying there are lies, but they are not the complete true, or it's the disrupted true. So is like that. And more important of all, as a pressure of fans, I love full stadiums. I love if I'm playing away, the whole stadium against our team motivates me for sure. Playing at home, full stadium. It's when people say it's like the 12th player, we don't say there's like it is true. It motivates the players. It brings us forward for sure. That's what they say. What people say. It's normal. It's football. Like it's that those 90 minutes or under 20 minutes. It's there. Once we leave the stadium, it's out. That doesn't bother me. Bothers me more is what comes on the media, and it's just to sell. And some people that don't question, okay, what kind of things are that? The rest, environment, bad environment, bring it on.
I've been in a few teams, obviously nowhere near grassroots level in England, and there's constant pressure about touches. There's constant limitations where we get told 2 touches maximum, then you have to pass the ball. Do you agree with that? I mean, we can blend this in with the time at West Bromwich Albion and the Diamond Academy as well, when you were head coach of the under-9s and the under-11s. Do you limitate touches for the players? And if so, why?
No. I've made that mistake. Which before then I believed that should be some kind of play. But at this point and right after, I don't like to do that. Maybe in a specific exercise with a specific objective, I could do that maximum this, but it's very rare because when we go to the game, for example, if let's say my striker has the ball and is in it's I don't know 20 yards away from the keeper and he's by himself, I don't want him to think I only have 2 touches. No, I want him to go. If let's say my winger, even my center back has space to progress, no pressure, go. I don't want him to think if I don't give the ball in 2 touches, the coach will yell at me or say like this. Like I said, I've done that in the past. At this moment, I don't agree. I think the player, no matter the age, has to enjoy having the ball on their feet. Doesn't want to. He shouldn't have the mentality of I have to get rid of this ball as quick as possible. We already know, like in the match, in the regular match, the medium time of touching a ball is 2 minutes, between 2 and 3 minutes in 90. So if they have the ball, they can enjoy it, feel comfortable with it. Obviously, what we want to induce with that, with the limited touches, is to play quick. But there's other ways to play quick, to play forward, to play into space without limiting the touches. So at this moment, I don't do that.
You were in England at West Bromwich Albion, and we can just talk about this quickly. What was the best moment that you had in England? Because you were only here for a year after leaving Benfica, your home country of Portugal. You've come to England. Firstly, why? And then why did you decide to leave?
So after like I was back then. I was 24, I think, and also some personal stuff. I was feeling quite stuck, even though at Benfica school I felt very welcome. They valued me a lot, but I felt I needed something. I needed something else, and out of the sudden, I decided I go to England. And when I said I go to England, I had no job. I found my house 3 days, like a room, 3 days before flying, and I had 300 euros on my pocket, which were not mine. I asked, I asked, I asked someone to borrow me those. But my idea was just my personal, like I need to go do something, to do something else. I need to go find more of the world, go to another country. Let's see, whatever. And I didn't start working on football in England straight away. I found like a job in a restaurant, which was good to pay the bills. So that was enough. And after I have my schedule figured, I have the bills. Okay, now I can go to try to look for football. And it was quite funny the way I got in there. I had this colleague in the kitchen. So our kitchen was basically one English guy, and all the others were from Guinea-Bissau, which they all speak Portuguese. And I had this lady. I was off on a Saturday, and I had this lady. Can you go with my son to West Brom because he's gonna do on trials now, and I don't speak English. You understand more of football? Can you go? I said, of course I go. And I went with him for his trials, and there I spoke with some coaches if they had any vacancies for me. They said, do you have, back then they were asking for a UEFA B, which I didn't have at that moment. So, okay, let's see. And I saw the trial. His coach, who brought him also to the trial, when he understood I was coach, he said, wait, don't go. And he talked to me. He said, like, we train this place at these times. Can you make it? Let's go. So they had like a partnership with West Brom, the Diamond Academy. And his name was Dean Brooms, amazing guy. Was very, very good with me because I felt, especially in the grassroots back then in England, we were talking about 2014, 2015. There was still like the old way of coaching and playing in England, and obviously my grassroots and the way I learned, it's just different, not best or worst, just different. And he could understand that, okay, this guy is not English, he comes from a different country, and he completely let me like do my thing. And the best feeling that I had in that club was, I remember the first days were I wouldn't say hard, but just because it was different. The kids were very, very, they didn't trust at all. And it was very, very nice to see after 3-4 months when finally they understood the way of playing and how much that was shown in games. Doesn't matter. We were winning most of the games after that, but it's not that important if we were winning. Is the way they were playing and how much they were enjoying. That was probably the best feeling that I had while I was there. I went back there, so I stayed there 1 year, and after I left to China and Australia, and then I went back to England. I went back to the same club. So, and I felt again way welcome. I was very well welcomed there. So it was very, very, very good experience. From time to time, we would go to West Brom for workshops, for also to bring kids and some other activities. So it was very, very, very nice because I was able to see a little bit of inside of the West Brom. It was really, really nice.
You decided to move to China. I mean, before we go ahead and talk about the club and your experience over there, China is on the other side of the world from where you were in England or Portugal. Why on earth would you decide to move there?
So after move to England, and to, even though it's okay, it was still the same continent. It's a different culture. Even though I always felt comfortable with English, it's still a different language. But I felt that, and I really enjoyed feeling in a different culture and different country. And I had these friends who worked with me in Benfica. They moved to China 1 year before, and that was growing. And they asked, "Hey, you want to come?" And I also, first of all, is the experience to go to China. Once again, knowing another culture, traveling, that motivation alone was good enough for me. And in terms of football, was also better because I would only work in football. I wouldn't have to work in let's say in this case in a restaurant and football. So I could go there and work just in football. So that those things, all those things put it together, was more than enough for me to say, let's go, let's live another experience. We've been here 1 year, let's live another experience. So that was basically it.
2016 was such a big year for China, and this is the day that always sticks to me, where the Chinese government put so much money into football in hopes that they would essentially achieve on a global scale a more recognition in a football way, where they wanted to achieve, I think it was World Cup status by 2030, if I'm not mistaken. You were there at this time of investment, and what sort of things did you see in China? Was it new stadiums, new facilities? I mean, people like you getting taken over to the country, European coaches getting brought over to China would have been huge for the federation.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of facilities, amazing. Like you go to middle schools, not even high schools. You go to middle schools where they have 11-side pitch, stands, like amazing. In terms of facilities, very good. Then for me, they have quality players. Let's say to all the coaches who work in grassroots or foundation, whatever. When you're trying to teach something technical, doesn't matter if it's a pass, it's a skill, it's a touch, whatever. So obviously, some players will do it quicker, but some other players will have difficulty. In this case, you teach them one thing, one time. They would do it. They would do it perfectly. Technically wise, very good. Now, where the issue comes, why they didn't explode, or why are not they a football like upon, for example, in Asia, such as Japan or South Korea? It has to do with their education. When I say this, it's because most of the education there is you do it just because you don't question it. So when you go to the tactical aspect of the game, their decision making is based on their last success. So if they went 1v1 and they succeed, they will do 1v1 no matter what. If they crossed, let's say, if they crossed and they missed the cross, it's going to be really hard to tell them to cross again, because they think, okay, they did one time, this didn't work, I'm going to do something else. So for me, that was the reason why you don't see like more good Chinese players, because once again, because they are good. Just the tactical aspect, especially if you want to bring them to Europe, it's not that easy. It's not that easy because the tactical aspect, because you have to ask yourself a lot of questions, you have to answer a lot of questions, you have to have a very good decision-making mentality. It's not that easy because they have everything there. So they have all the conditions to succeed. It's just a matter of that the way they are. Once again, it's not worrying, or it's not worse or better. It's just the way they are. So in my opinion, that's why they are in a team sport. it's hard for them to succeed. Because if you will look at individual sports, they're quite good. Gymnastics, even you have some swimming, in some athletics as well, they are good. But when it comes to group, to team sports, they are not they're not so good just because of that. Because individually they have quality, and very easy. You can teach a 6-year-old to do any skill, he will do it. The other part, the tactical aspect, is the hardest part. And the other thing is, they don't have, not the players, but whoever is above you doesn't have much patience if you don't have a result. So if you want to do something that would take, say, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because it's a progressive way. We're talking about changing a way of education, a way of teaching, a way of coaching. It won't change in 1 or 2 years. It will require way more time. So, and I don't think they have that patience, and I think that's why they didn't succeed more, because once again they have the conditions for it.
Do you think they ever will succeed? Do you think they'll ever get to the goal of the World Cup?
Can you repeat? Sorry, there was a little bit of interception.
No problem. Do you think China will ever make it to the World Cup? That was their aim. That was in Xi Jinping's manifesto, I believe it was. Will China ever succeed and go to a World Cup?
If they organize it. If they organize it, because they are the hosts. If they are the hosts, they will be there. Once, like, if they need to change, I mean, I don't know how is it right now. We're talking about 2016, so we're talking about 8 years already, and so probably some things changed. So I don't know how is it right now at the moment, but I think it has to start from there. If they try to, I'm not saying to obviously change their education way. I mean, in terms of football, if they have that foundation part, they will collect the results later on.
You have gone to many, many clubs in this time. Australia in between this. But then you decided to go to, was it Bayern Munich? But it was like an academy out in Canada. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you, go on.
So that was basically, it's an American. It was because they went after COVID, they closed. So but this was after Australia, due to visa issues, I had to leave the country. So I decided to go back to England, which I had some friends there that I could stay, and because I already knew the country, I could easily find a job or go back to football or something. And after 1 year again in England, things were not going too well for me. So I decided I need a change again. And what came up was this called Global Premier Soccer, GPS. And it was American based, and they had like this franchise spread all over the world, the continent. And they also had this franchise in Canada, which they needed a new coach, and I decided to go. Yeah, it had a partnership with Bayern Munich. After 3 years, if you are coaching there, you got to spend a week there. Unfortunately, I only stayed 2 years, once again due to COVID. But yeah, I decided once again, another experience, another change, and see how it goes. And was a very, very, very nice experience as well.
This was, I believe, your first proper introduction into the female game. And we all know what it's like in America, the home of bringing new things into the world, should we say. And obviously, America have been so good in their investment into women's football. Likewise with Portugal, where you went on afterwards to go and be a female assistant and head coach. When you were in America, how was the opportunity presented, and why did you decide to take the under 10s to under 17s female groups? Why was that an option to you, and why was that so? Why did you want to go down that route? Because for me, if I wanted to go down that route, I would, because it's still football, it's still coaching people into the way that you'd like them to. So what was the female game in America so promising for you?
So when they hired me, I didn't know what age groups I was going to coach. If it was boys, girls, under 10s, under 15s, I didn't know. I was up to anything, and I started the under 13s, I guess, girls, and it was quite nice because the level, how to say, okay, if we put the same age boys and girls together, obviously because of the physical part, boys will stand out, of course, but it was quite developed. One thing about coaching girls and women is that they want to learn. Like, even though they can be very skillful, very good, but most of them, like I would say 95 or 98% of them, they want to learn, they want to listen, they want to do better, they want to that, like, compared to the guys, it's in that sense it's completely different, because, like, let's say sometimes you have a kid that doesn't pass the ball, for example, constantly doesn't pass the ball, and you have to say, okay, you can go, but at least pass the ball sometime. And back then was the opposite. With the girls was the opposite. Come on, like, don't pass too much. If you want to go 1v1, go 1v1. Doesn't matter. So they wanted to do everything perfect, like no mistakes, and that brings obviously another challenge, because you have to challenge them to improve. But it was very, very rewarding. I was lucky. I had a very, very good group of girls in the first year. On the second year, I was coaching the same group as under 14s, already 11 aside, and then the under 17 group, 11 aside as well, where the competition was much higher. I was extremely lucky. The two groups were amazing. It was super, super rewarding. Like you said, yes, was my first real contact with women's football, and I really, really, really enjoyed it, and it was very, 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 very good and very rewarding in so many ways.
We haven't got too long left, but I just wanted to talk about your time in Portugal and then moving over to Saudi Arabia. You decided to go back to Portugal and you pursued the head coach under 19s female role in the Premier Division. And then you were also the assistant coach, but also the set piece coach for the women's professional team in that division. We've spoken about your coaching career, so I don't think we should go in depth into that. But what I want to know is, being a set piece coach, why? Why was that set piece coach a route that you wanted to go down?
So when they asked me to, on the first year, I got there to be an assistant of the under 17th. And the next year, they proposed me to be the head coach of the under 19th and to be assistant coach of the first women's team. I started as an assistant coach, normal assistant coach, and in the middle of the season, the team changed head coach, and the new head coach decided to give us different tasks, and my task was to be the set piece coach. So I would have to observe the opponent, see how they defend in corners and free kicks mainly, and from there, and considering our own characteristics, create some set pieces that may lead us to get a goal and have some success. So was quite challenging, because it was the first time I ever did that. But it was very, very good to do that, and I think we were able to score at least 2 goals from there. So it was, once again, challenging, different task, but as a coach, I want to learn as much as possible and do as much different tasks as possible. So it was very, very, very nice as well.
I think most recently, a few years ago, you were in Juventus's academy in Saudi Arabia. And again, you were the head coach of the under-18s team and the assistant coach of the under-16s. When was this? What years were those?
So 2 years ago, So we're talking 2002. Yes. So season 2002, 2003. Yes. So there's many reasons for me to go there, and one I'm not going to deny, obviously for financial reasons, even though it was not super well paid, but was better than I was receiving here in Portugal. Second, unfortunately, it's very, very easy, especially here in Portugal, to get labeled. And if you are a youth coach, you get labeled as a youth coach. If you are a women's coach, you get labeled as a youth coach. So if you are a men's coach, you can coach everything, which I don't agree with. So I wanted to, because I was 2 years in Canada, now 2 years in Portugal with the women's, I want to get out of that label. And that's another reason why. And the third reason was to try to make some connections around the world, because once again, unfortunately, if you are, at least in Portugal, if you want to reach out to a senior coach, a high-level coach, here it's so much harder. And when you are abroad, it's so much easier. So those three reasons were why I went there. They offered me the under 18s. Then I also met another Portuguese guy, which was very, very nice, was in the Juventus Academy. And he was with the under 16. So I worked with him. He worked with me. So was basically like this.
I think we have you back there. We got the gist of what you were saying. That you get labelled as a coach in certain aspects of the world, and Saudi Arabia was the best place for you. The investment there in the last few years has been obscene. We've seen some great players head over there, but behind the scenes, players like Karim Benzema haven't been too happy with just the fan bases in Saudi Arabia, without trying to be disrespectful. Why do you think Saudi Arabia, firstly, is trying to invest into football? But secondly, why are players going over there and coming back unhappy?
So why they are going there, we know why. Many reasons, of course. And let's not deny it, right? Let's not deny it. And second of all, why do I think they are leaving unhappy? Because even though it's loads and loads and loads of money, most of the clubs, even though good structures, not all the clubs, not all, except let's say Nasser or Hilal, or I don't know about Etihad, but if these two, especially these two, all the other ones, with one or two exceptions, for example, the training facilities are not the best. Also the culture, not the Arab culture or the Muslim culture is, but the way the culture of people who are above, they like to do things slowly. They like to. Tomorrow we'll do it. I don't know if there you heard the expression, inshallah. Inshallah, maybe you will say, if God wants, tomorrow will happen. And I think all these things together, okay, it's loads and loads of money, but especially when you come from a Real Madrid or a Liverpool, like Anderson, and they get there, okay, it's a lot of money, but they are used to a super high level, the highest level possible. And you go there, yes, your bank account is full, but in terms of condition, okay, they probably put you in a good house and everything. In terms of living conditions, pretty good. But in terms of training conditions, of organizing conditions, if they don't have that preparation that especially European clubs have. So I think after coming from those contacts and then get to this, I think most of them will go like this. You don't see many players either from Nasser or Al Hilal coming unhappy. And in case of, for example, of Henderson, where he was in Etihad was next to my place where I was living there, and I got to go to see some trainings before Steven Gerrard, not when he was there. And like if you are in a youth context, the conditions are good. If you are in a professional level, I don't think so. I think they could be way much better. So I think it's those things, and probably you request some stuff or there's something in your contract except for money. I'm not talking about the money part. I'm talking about any requests or anything. Many times tomorrow will happen. If God wants, tomorrow will happen. And put every little thing together, it's like they can be upset. And we are talking about players that, okay, they went for the money, but they don't need that desperately that money.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's because of that. I think it will develop. I think some clubs understand that, and they are developing even in grassroots, because back there most of the teams, they only care about the seniors and the 19s, 17s, the conditions and everything. They don't care. But I think some clubs already realize, and they are trying to change that. And I think within 4 or 5 years, I think it will be way much different.
Just lastly from me, you've had analyst experiences in Lithuania and Portugal, claiming some badges, I believe. And you also hold a UEFA B license. And that allows you, in this scale, to coach at academies and at the lower levels, so at the top end of academies. What that means is you could take your UEFA A license to become a professional manager in the Championship, League 2, League 1, if we're basing it off England. And then your UEFA Pro to manage in the Premier League or a UEFA competition. And together that would have cost £11,000. Would that be something that you or the clubs that you have been with or will be with in the future, do you see yourself taking those badges to be able to go ahead and manage in UEFA competitions? Do you want to be that first team manager?
Yes, in the long term, I think I have so much to learn, especially because I was not a player and I don't have much experience in senior football. So I think I need to learn a lot. I have a long way to go. So as for now, I prefer to stay as an assistant coach or analyst, whatever the team needs me. But definitely yes. I have a plan to, by the end of this year, to start my UEFA A. And later on, let's say in the next 5 years, maybe try to apply for the UEFA Pro. It's a big investment. Many times you don't see the return, or you take many years to see the return of that. But it's definitely something that I wanna do. As for the clubs that I've been with, none have even offered to try to help me out with that. So basically, I gotta do it by myself. But it's definitely a path that I want to go. Especially what I've seen, job offers, this and this, no matter what they were requesting UEFA B a few years ago, they are requesting UEFA A. And even for some youth high-level roles, they are asking UEFA Pro. So it's basically, I'm definitely interesting, and it's on my plan list to do it for sure.
Andre, it's been over an hour talking to you about so many things in Portugal and beyond, and I thank you so much for joining me for this last hour or so. Thank you very much, and all the best for the future.
Thank you very much, Evan. It was a pleasure to be here. Really, thank you very much, and all the best for this show.